Hi everyone, welcome to another screencast for BTEC Level 2 Extended Certificate in Sport. Today we're looking at screencast number 3. This is muscle contractions and antagonistic muscles. Please take notes as we go through this, pause it as many times as you wish, but again, as always, it's important to get the key concepts down so we can then apply it further in the classroom. Okay, let's go. So we are going to be looking at the different types of muscle contractions that you can possibly do during sporting movement. So you've learned the muscles, the main muscles in the body. Now you're going to apply it more to sport. And to do this you achieve P4 and M2. So some basic definitions first of all to get down. First of all, we have something called a concentric contractions when our muscles are working. And this is basically where tension is produced whilst the muscle shortens. We have another type of contraction which is called an eccentric contraction, and this is where tension is developed or produced whilst the muscle lengthens. So please underline shortens and lengthens on those two types of contractions. They're the key points to understand. And then finally we have something called an isometric contraction, and this is where tension is produced whilst there is no muscle movement. So please underline no muscle movement for that particular contraction. So let's try and apply those contractions now to sporting examples, which you're going to have to do for your merit. Okay, so if we look at the bicep curl, and we've learned that the bicep curl, in doing that movement just there, is flexion of the elbow joint, which is a hinge joint. And this is what is going on in terms of contractions and muscles. So as they flex their elbow joint, their biceps are concentrically contracting, i.e. they are shortening, and their triceps are eccentrically contraction, i.e. they are lengthening. Look at your theories on those contractions from the previous slide. Let's look at another example. They are extending their knee joint, which is a hinge joint, and this is what is going on. So when they're extending their knee joints, their quadriceps, i.e. their thigh muscles, are concentric contracting, and their hamstrings are eccentrically contracting. So please put those examples down on your pieces of paper and understand how those muscles actually contract. We will apply this in the classroom, folks, don't worry, but get those key concepts down just now. And there's one more type of contraction that we looked at that we need to now apply to sport. So we had a gymnast in the London 2012 Games on the high rings, and he is applying an isometric contraction of his muscles. Look at your definition of isometric. It's basically where there is no joint movement or muscle movement. Okay, his muscles are tensing, as you can see, but he's not moving. That's an isometric contraction. Okay, so that's contractions. We're now looking at something called antagonistic muscles. And to do this you achieve P4 and M2. M2 is applying it to sport. P4 is the basic definitions. So first of all, some basic information for you. Muscles work in pairs to produce movement, and we've kind of touched on this in the previous lessons. We have something called an agonist muscle, which is sometimes referred to as the prime mover. Now this muscle is directly responsible for the movement at a joint. It is contracting and shortens. So please underline contracting and shortens. That's really, really important. We also have an antagonist muscle, and this is where the muscle that has an opposite action to that of the agonist. The muscle relaxes to allow movement and lengthens. Please underline that final sentence. That's really important. So let's try and apply these antagonistic muscles now to examples and incorporating the different types of muscle contractions as well. Okay, here we have flexion of the elbow joint during a bicep curl. We're now going to incorporate antagonistic muscles into our contractions. Here we go. As we know, your biceps will concentrically contract when we flex at the elbow joint. Therefore, this is the agonist because this is the muscle that shortens. Whereas your triceps, as we found out, would be an eccentric contraction, and therefore it's an antagonist muscle because the muscle is lengthening. Let's look at the second example. We have an extension of the knee joint. We found out before that the quadriceps will concentrically contract. Therefore, your quadriceps will be the agonist, the prime mover, and your hamstrings will eccentrically contract, and they are the antagonist muscles. There's a common theme there, guys. If the muscles are concentrically contracting, they are always the agonist, and if they are eccentrically contracting, i.e. lengthening, they are always the antagonist. Please understand those key concepts if you could. Okay, that's about it for today. We will apply these further in the classroom to all the movements and joints that we have looked at so far.